Yo guys, I've got a spark which I'm going to use to ignite the fire for a brand new Skylanders video here on my channel. Now it looks as though I have a rather impressive lineup of characters behind me, so how's about we take a better look at them? There's a rather iconic trio found in Skylanders Imaginators that you can see before you. It's a notorious trio of senseis with memes even backing it up, which are hilarious. But what's not so hilarious on the other hand is the price tag that come attached to each of these characters. For a single one of them you'd be lucky to find them for under £100, especially on eBay. Heck, even CEX has a massive price tag for each and every one of them. I got very lucky and managed to find them for £60 each. People who got them at retail are even luckier than that. Anyways, what's funny about this trio is that each of their Soulgems are actually found in their corresponding elemental realms. So let's tackle each of these realms with these characters for this video, watch their Soulgem previews once they've been attained, and instead of using each character for their respective realm, let's mix things up so the elements don't match. Okay, so let's be kicking off the gameplay portion of this here Skylanders video with none other than Wildstorm. As you could tell, I had a deep voice to mimic that of Wildstorm's Deep Storm. Wait a minute, Deep Storm? Wow. I mean, I'm sure he does have a Deep Storm, considering that is part of the name and everything. What I meant to say was to mimic his deep voice, mind you. Yeah, my voice definitely needs some work, but Wildstorm's on the other hand is about as deep as you get, and it's freaking awesome, especially when you get to say his name in said deep voice. Wildstorm! See what I mean? It really doesn't get much better than that. Either way, we have several hidden enemies to defeat, reminding me of the hidden world that does, purely because the word hidden is in common, and you can't get much wrong with that because I love the hidden world. Great movie, really underrated, because a lot of people don't like the movie nearly as much as the other two How to Train Your Dragon films, which is basically wrong because that's how opinions work, considering that the hidden world to me is an absolute masterpiece that is on level at the very minimum with the first film, but I personally prefer the first film. I think both How to Train Your Dragon sequels are better than the original film. But what I'm not doing a great job of right here is actually talking about Skylanders, considering this is a Skylanders video. So when it comes to Wildstorm, you know, his attacks are crazy. You've got this crazy, you know, storm type thing, we're truly living up to the name of Wildstorm we are right here. Then you have his sword combos. There's more than just the ones that I'm pulling off, I can assure you that much. There wouldn't be much of a combo now, would there, if there was only one of said combos. So regardless, you also have a tertiary attack. If you guys saw, he creates a big storm, and then just like Thunderbolt, actually, you can ignite the storm with electric powers. I love the fact that I use the word ignite, despite the fact that, you know, that has stuff to do with fire. It's a fire that you ignite, not necessarily a storm. But, you know, ignite the storm kind of rolls off the tongue now that I think about it. Regardless, when it comes to this character, he was released in a adventure pack, so Skylanders Imaginators got an update during its, you know, during a few months after its release even, to where they added in 2 new levels for Tiki Temple and the Lost Imaginite Mines. And you could access these levels with one of the 2 final senseis to be released, Wildstorm for the Tiki Temple Adventure Pack, and then Ro-bow for the Lost Imaginite Mines Adventure Pack. Okay, this guy needs to go, so luckily that's what we have our projectiles for. They also have great knockback damage, so after you hit the enemies and deal them for dumb stupid damage, they can't hit you back, is what makes this guy so effective in combat, mind you. Like, the developers clearly knew when constructing the poster how cool this guy looked, and they knew that people were going to want to get their hands on him based on how cool he looked, and so they knew they had to live up to people's expectations of the design by making him dumb stupid powerful. And then by making him one of the final ones released, not only was he potentially able to be included within that Tiki Temple Adventure Pack I was just talking about previously, but on top of that, it also is what makes him one of the best characters in this game. He is so damn good. purely because of the fact that the developers knew they had something to live up to by making him one of the last ones released and one of the best designs to speak of from the entirety of the Sensei's cast, mind you. Yeah, they always save the coolest ones for last. They clearly with Wildstorm to make him so they knew exactly what they were doing. But that's just the thing though, he didn't sell the greatest. That was mostly because the Cursed Tiki Temple did have a particular something overshadowing its release, and that's because some idiot decided to release the Cursed Tiki Temple on the exact same day the Nintendo Switch came out. Yeah, it's like they was asking for the pack to fail. You don't just release on the same day as a new Nintendo console, you know, let's just say some hype outshadowed it. So that was the main problem for Cursed Tiki Temple really, its release date being the exact same as that of the Nintendo Switch's release date. And on top of that, the Cursed Tiki Temple launched alongside the Switch as well as the Imaginators port of the Switch, because Imaginators was one of the 5 physical release games of the Nintendo Switch. So anything from that release date, Skylanders related, has gone on to become rather expensive, because not only is the Cursed Tiki Temple a rather expensive thing to get your hands on, you know, its price tag is rather hefty, but also is the Imaginators Switch starter pack. Like the Skylanders Imaginators for Nintendo Switch is a port of this game that will put you back a few hundred. The cheapest you can find it for is around £200, and that's loose for the cartridge alone. For the starter pack, brand new, you'll see, you're looking at prices of, you know, 300 at the bare minimum. It's easily the rarest physical Switch release today. And that's funny because of all of the Switch launch titles, the Imaginators Switch port was actually the least most selling launch game of the 5. Even Just Dance outsold Skylanders Imaginators on the Switch day 1. That's gotta hurt. So yeah, for those of you who are foolish enough not to pick up Skylanders Imaginators for the Switch on day 1, you know, you're paying the price for it now, because if you want it, you're gonna have to be, you know, dishing out for big bucks. Either way, we now have more rats to eliminate, as I continue to tell you guys about how awesome Wildstorm is, and that you should totally be jealous for not owning him, you know, poor fools, as I continue to flex about how great Wildstorm is, and the fact that I just so happened to own him after I dished out 60 entire pounds to get the pack, which was a damn good price, despite the fact that it's double retail price. It was a damn good price. Anyway, we now have Chompy Mage's Souljam to be previewing right now. Slow motion Chompy for the win, am I right? Yeah, that guy looked good in his Souljam preview, mostly because he is good. Oh wait, let's see what we can do about this here, Troll Radio. Boom, baby. And wait for it, boom. One last time to go. Yeah. Oh, I could go for a chicken dinner right now as well. What's funny is that I have some curry coming up for me tonight, which is going to involve some chicken, so we are all winner chicken dinners in this video, especially since I have something very special to conclude the video with, to which no doubt you guys know of it already, because that is within the title, mind you. And I bet, I'm willing to bet a lot of you even skip straight along to the end, but if you want that additional entry into the giveaway, you're watching the entire thing to look out for those random gameplay codes I'm giving out during this video. So if you are watching the entirety of this video, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate you stopping around for my awesome personality, my awesome informative skills on, you know, the factoid behind the Cursed Tiki Temple and why it's as expensive as it is. Like, sure, there are other Wave 5 characters like Blastertron and Tideball who aren't nearly as expensive as the Cursed Tiki Temple, and that's purely because more of them were produced. You know, the Cursed Tiki Temple was kind of like a limited release almost. But even then, it wasn't as limited in release as things like Lost Imaginate Mage, which is why, out of the 3 characters we're looking at this video, Wildstorm and the Cursed Tiki Temple by extent is the easiest to get your hands on, and quite possibly the cheapest. It's funny how I call it the cheapest when it's still got a £100 price tag to it. Anyway, let's be launching off again! But yeah, that pretty much covers it for Wildstorm, but we still got to beat the realm yet. But luckily for me, I'm not bothered about no 100%, so we, my friends, are just going to worry about beating the realm. We're not going to worry about tackling that additional area that you see in front of Wildstorm right here. So we're going to take down that guy. But yeah, Wildstorm does have a pretty hefty health bar, so that helps out to make him even more effective on top of just how good his gameplay is. He's one of the several senseis that's universally beloved, purely because if you're going to dish out like £100 to this guy, you're going to want to like him, and luckily he definitely lives up to it. Like, I really recommend his character. He's one of my absolute favourites. He's such a blast. You know, I personally prefer him over Ro-bow. Not many people do, but I personally do. I think that's mostly because Ro-bow is, technically speaking, the last Skylander to ever be released, especially if Imaginators is going to be the last Skylanders game, and you know, he was the last Imaginators sensei to be released on that note. Anyway, there go all them cursed sheep right there. And as I said earlier, we're just worried about beating the levels, so we're not going to go up our way to collect that treasure chest or anything, not from over anyway. But yeah, end of this video, I'm going to be covering a massive giveaway I'm doing, so you have plenty to look forward to, because whilst I can't exactly afford giving away this trio of characters of mine, what I can do is afford giving away for 80 plus doubles of other Skylanders that I have in my possession. Either way, we're going to skip over this Deep Stew right here, like seriously, who would possibly even want to ever listen to Deep Stew? I mean, it's classified as Deep Stew for a reason, it's stew, that's not necessary. And not to mention, calling it Deep Stew is very appropriate right here because Wildstorm has a deep voice, therefore the stew and the voice of Wildstorm have something in common right here. But yeah, Deep Stew is just what we like calling the unnecessary dialogue that we love skipping over, you know, pressing the best button in the video game right here, which is, of course, the skip button as per the norm. Wait, we've got all this gold right here, but let's just say Wildstorm is pretty stacked, as you can tell, you know, good old 18,000 gold almost. You don't get much better than that now, do you? So now let's grab this Imaginite chest and end the level already, so then we can move on to what level comes next. Ooh, a ninja weapon for fire stars, nice. We was talking about igniting fires earlier, and so I believe that those fire stars are perfect fire starters. I mean, you add a few letters to stars and you get fire starters. They ignite for fire, alright. And now, just like that, it's time to bring in the Chompy Mage. So you see the staff on his figurine, you know, a great reference to his iteration from Giants and Trap Team, where he of course possessed that staff. But, you know, his insignia on the front of the base acknowledges him as a bazooka, one of two actually. Him and Chompy Mage are the him and Chompy Mage, this is Chompy Mage. What I meant to say is that this Chompy Mage fella right here, as well as Flare Wolf, are the only bazookas in the game. Now that makes more sense now, doesn't it? Either way, the tech realm here is a toy making factory, so we're going to launch that undead looking bottom half into the vacuum to design our toys with. So yes, it's really cool how Chompy Mage has several different like fan payoffs to him. You know, it's cool to see him with a Chompy bazooka that launches Chompies, and it's also fun to see him with his figurine and his, of course, catchphrase possessing the traditional staff that he's well known for. You know, so the best of both worlds, because they definitely needed another bazooka. They couldn't have Flare Wolf being the only one now, could they? Even though Flare Wolf is awesome. Either way, this guy's gameplay is dumbstupid broken. First of all, you have a knockback from his Chompy right here, which creates feed that deals, you know, continuous damage. Then you have his Chompies, which can be launched from a distance, ensuring that, you know, Chompies can do all of the work for you. And then on top of that, you also have this massive orb, which deals huge damage. You can dash around with it, so you can avoid attacks very easily. So basically, this guy has everything you could possibly ask for when it comes to being an effective character in combat. He has for range. He has the capability of being able to keep his distance, so he's not hit by enemies so easily. He has, of course, you know, boost panels apparently from Mario Kart, from the level we're currently tackling, that name of Tech Round, or Tech Sensei Round to be more grammatically correct, mind you. And then on top of that, you know, he has his knockback damage. So every single one of his attacks makes it so that then he can remain in combat a little bit less and be dealt damage by enemies that little bit less. Of course, you know, just like Wildstorm, one of the most expensive characters is dumb, stupid, broken. Regardless, there is an entire video on the channel talking about how I got this particular green Chompy Mage of mine imported from Germany, because it was cheaper to get this guy imported over from Germany even than it was to buy him locally. You know, it was a £40 price tag, then it was a £20 importing fee from Germany, but in the end that turned out cheaper still. And what made Green Chompy Mage so problematic to get your hands on is that when Skylanders Imaginators was first being released, we're talking about day one back in October of 2016, there was an exclusive Amazon deal where you could get 5 villains for £60, so 5 villains for the price of 4. You got Hoodsicle, Tycoon Crow, Dr. Crankcase, Hoodsicle, Tycoon Crow, Dr. Crankcase, and then Hoodsicle, so they were the 4 villains that you got. And then the additional bonus villain was actually the Green Chompy Mage. And this was long before the Green Chompy Mage was planned to even be released. And by the way, run into that fire, all part of the plan. You know, I'm igniting this guy on fire. Anyway, so yes, at the time, that was exclusively the only way you could get a Green Chompy Mage. And so I assume what happened is that Activision wound up signing a contract with Amazon to make that the exclusive way of acquiring Green Chompy Mage. Of course, in Wave 2, around Christmas time, Jingle Bells Chompy Mage was brought out, which was a red version of basically the same character. I didn't realise that this entire thing was for a treasure chest, but, you know, it allowed me to continue with my story about contracting. So, of course, Activision couldn't release the character regularly due to the contract they currently had with Amazon for the release of the Green Chompy Mage figurine as part of that exclusive Amazon bundle. So I assume anyone who picked up that bundle day one with all 5 of the villains are absolutely laughing at everyone else now, considering that they have the Green Chompy Mage and nobody else does, it feels like. Either way, we're instead going to go with this, so that then we have one like piece of each different toy, I suppose. Yeah, pretty cool, all that. Oh wait, there's also a treasure chest up here which I absolutely want, so why the heck would I say no to that? Alright. So yeah, let's be grabbing all that gold. So yes, Activision had no other way of releasing Green Chompy Mage due to the existing contract they had with Amazon. Disney have ran into the same problems where they have existing contracts with current stream services like Netflix, so they had to wait before they could release some of their films on Disney+. Films like Avengers Endgame, for example, they had a contract with Netflix to put on there, so they couldn't put it on Disney Plus until after that contract had been used up. So naturally, after that contract had expired, can you shut up please, Sven? I'm telling a story here. Regardless, after that story, after that contract even, had of course been expired and used up by Activision, by Amazon even, Activision then had the rights to release a Green Chompy Mage, but by the time that happened, of course, the senseis weren't selling as well as they were during the launch of the game initially. So Activision, knowing that Jingle Bells Chompy Mage had already been released and a lot of people had already possessed at least one version of this figurine, knowingly knew that people weren't going to want to get their hands on another version of the character just for the sake of the green colorization. So they never wound up giving Green Chompy Mage a full release because people already had a version of Chompy Mage in the Jingle Bells format from the Christmas variant of the character instead. So why release a green one as well, right? So naturally, with the Green Chompy Mage in a single pack rendition getting a very, very limited release, that's what made this character have such a high price tag attached to him. European countries were basically the only ones to get a large, wide release of the Green Chompy Mage, which is why he's so much more commonly found in Germany than anywhere else in the world. I don't know why they chose to make this character more abundantly available in European than anywhere else. That was just the choice they made, I suppose, but yes. Green Chompy Mage, rather than being screwed over by a lack of production due to being the end of a toy line, instead became rare due to the limitations of the Amazon contract that Activision would have signed to have made that exclusive bundle with them for the launch of the game, where of course you got for 5 villains for the price of 4. I mean, it was a good deal, I just never wound up buying it, obviously. That's why I had to buy Chompy Mage for £60 several years later. Hey, we assembled it. Now all I've got to do is not die to this annoying little red dude. And also not die to the fire either. I don't think igniting this little guy on fire is going to be much help for anyone. But wow, why is avoiding this red dude so annoying? There you go, we avoided the red dude, we still have the water to extinguish the fire with, so now we can finally complete this puzzle and gain ourselves access to Ro-bow's Souljam over here, so we can preview that as a little teaser before we get into the actual character himself for the showcase of the air realm. So let's preview him without further ado. And again, when I initially bought that green Chompy Mage, I have an unboxing and my first gameplay impressions up on the channel as linked in the description below, so you can always go and check out that video if you want to know what my first experiences with this character were like. But now, with this all being said and done, I think it's about time we completed this level, don't you? So yeah, I completely forgot that the Ro-bow Souljam was at that part of the level. I thought it was at that part of the level where we found that initial treasure chest. But hey, just like every other human being on this planet, I can be wrong from time to time. Mistakes are only part of our humanity. So with this, you know, you're meant to kind of like angle things and like time your shots, but you kind of said just mash the buttons and it's guaranteed that these will eventually go in at some point or another. But yeah, we're going to make a very interesting toy, considering that these parts come from all 3 different designs, and it's all 3 different designs in one. But this just reminds me of Skylanders Swap Force, where of course you can mix and match like parts of your toys, but this is just in it to a greater extent, because this one you have the head, the legs, and the torso, rather than just the top and bottom half, so you can switch over. Either way, red, I really don't care. Though she's not wrong, even though she's not wrong even, that creation is indeed magnificent. Yeah, I'd rather not. I'd rather just get out of this rab already. You know, Chompy Mage has been showcased enough, and it's a shame really, because there's very little combat in this level, so I wasn't able to showcase the full extent to Chompy Mage's overpoweringness. Luckily for me, that's what I have an entire Sensei Soul of Demigod for. You know, he was our saviour in the Skylanders Imaginators Sensei Soul Link, this Chompy Mage fella right here. But yeah, now if that haven't been grabbed, we will be concluding this portion of the video already. I sure hope you guys are paying attention for the giveaway codes for, of course, the additional giveaway chances. But now, with that being said and done, let's leave the Sensei Tech realm without further ado. And just like that, it's time at long last to finally put onto the portal none other than Ro-bow. It's fitting that we save for last the Sensei that actually came out last amongst the Imaginators cast, and by extent the character of the last Skylanders character to ever be released. At least in terms of modern memory, mind you. That might change, you know, we might go to Skylanders 7. There's nothing saying that, you know, it's never ever 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 going to happen. It's most likely not going to happen, especially not anytime soon. But still, you know, I'm holding out hope. And what I'm also hoping for is Ro-bow's showcase here to be as awesome as the character himself is. You know, you can see already how great this design is. The gameplay absolutely lives up to that. This guy is phenomenal, and his rarity solely comes down to, again, the fact that his packs weren't heavily produced. You know, as for the last of the Skylanders Imaginators lineup, you know, Activision just kind of like pumped this one out with poor distribution methods, as it just very rarely hit stores. So it was hard to find at retail when it first came out, you know, let alone several years later. And without further ado, let's also be previewing Wildstorm while we're at it. It's very funny how this is the only character in which this episode that we've had the Souljam preview after we've had the showcase. We already know how awesome this character is, but you know, you can't go wrong with slow motion on top of all that. So yes, Activision kind of like just pumped this one out as the final one to complete the collection for most people, and so they didn't really care about the lack and quantity that could be found around stores, mind you. You know, they didn't care that it was hard to find in stores and that it was limited in release because they knew it wasn't ever going to sell very well. You know, they're not going to produce and release and distribute figures that aren't going to sell particularly well. You know, it'll just be a waste of money that way because at the end of the day, distributing Skylanders is just hard, expensive, and a really long ordeal. You know, you've got to worry about falling off. But no, in all seriousness, you've got to worry about international laws and all of that jazz, as well as actually, you know, getting your Skylander figurines from the factories in the US to, of course, all of the retail stores in Europe and Asia and wherever else Skylanders are released. You know, it's notorious distribution issues between, you know, different countries. Like, take Series 2 Bash, for example. After the wave that he was released in Giants, he never got a re-release in America, but he did in Europe, which is why in Europe, Series 2 Bash became one of the more common figurines, but the Americans, however, were struggling to find him. After that Series 2 release, mind you, well, Wave 2 release, that Series 2 Bash was found in. And then Series 2 Ro-bow, for example, never even got released in Europe. You know, he only ever got released exclusively to America. So my Series 2 Ro-bow, I had to get imported. A bit similar to how I had to get Chompy Mage imported, I suppose, for the green version anyway. For Jingle Bells, Chompy Mage I found just fine, just like everybody else. But yeah, Ro-bow has combos, as you can see right here. They are very destructive. There are several explosions to go around. This is definitely Michael Bay's favourite Skylander, let's be honest. But yeah, these arrows of his, they aren't actually arrows. What they are is they are drills. So they actually cut through enemies, as you can tell, like they phase through the enemies and go to the next one in line. Then he also has his laser. You know, enemies exposed to the laser are dealt more damage to by the drill arrows than, you know, you saw this combo already. So let's do it again. It's very good for crowd control. Then you can also twirl up into a small little ball, and then if you jump attack, you know, you can create like a little flurry of the rockets right here. It's very useful to just go into this attack, knock enemies back, and then bring in the jumping attack afterwards. You know, the attacks flow together very, very well. Okay, here we go with this combo once again. And then you can also charge up. The arrow doesn't do much more than what the arrows normally do though. It just makes it a little bit bigger. Again, great for crowd control, I suppose. And here we go for combos once again. Boom, boom, shake the room. I also love the fact that Ro-bow's out insulting his enemies right here. You know, he just gone and defeated an absolute bunch of noobs right here, as well as missed the balloon. Boy, is that annoying. It reminds me of another rare Skylanders figurine for Macy's Day Eruptor Balloon. It's the only Skylander released today to where it doesn't actually work in the game because there is no NFC chip. It's actually got printed on the packaging the fact that the Skylander does not work in the games. You know, the figurine is not brought to life. It is simply but a collector's item, a toy, in other words. A toy that I just happen to own, mind you. But still, missing that balloon right there just reminded me of the St. Macy's Day Eruptor Balloon all the same. Anyway, let's continue to platform here. You know, what else would I do if there's platforms right in front of me? So again, we're not too worried about 100%, even though I did accidentally wind up 100% in the tech sensei round earlier. But regardless of all that, we are just going to try our hardest to breeze through this, and it's not going to be difficult to breeze through this with Ro-bow. He is a very speedrun-esque character, which again, his attacks flow together very, very well, and it's very much fun to save the absolute minimal. Yeah, this is Ro-bow for me, yeah? Oh, I want you. Never mind. Apparently the game said no, so I wasn't able to jump towards it. First of all, there was an invisible wall, and second of all, the jump was too fast to make regardless. But yeah, I accidentally said bleeze earlier rather than breeze. I have no clue what a bleeze is, but, you know, apparently it exists. My mouth said so. Okay, here we go again with more enemies right here. I am playing on hard difficulty, but for a powerful sensei like Ro-bow, that should be no issue. Except for those guys. I hate those guys. I hate them so much. There you go, he's dead. And I'm glad. I'm so incredibly glad. Now, one thing I don't like is that I can go to do the laser and I can accidentally make it the combination, which I don't want because of the natural combination caused by that right there. And it can leave you vulnerable. Luckily for me, though, if I do the combo by accident, I can easily jump out of it. So I can, you know, avoid the frames where he's vulnerable to attack, in other words. Yeah, like every Skylander, when it comes to this guy's gameplay, there's more than meets the eye. There's stuff that you can learn and master over time. Boom. And he is the fan favourite of many, actually. I know many people who call Ro-bow their favourite Skylander. Ah, boy! The people who are lucky enough to own him, mind you. Okay, there goes that annoying fool I very much did not want to interact with. You know, for less interaction with those annoying enemies, the better. You know, last thing I want to do is, in a video showcasing Ro-bow, lose Ro-bow. How am I supposed to showcase a character who's just died now, right? So let's take advantage of the Sky Chi, to which he brings out a massive frickin' drill! Yeah, it's like his arrowheads, because of course his arrowheads are drills in of itself, so it's like an enlarged version of his arrowhead. It's like he went to Captain Cluck's Chicken HQ, got some of a crazy shrunken and grown chicken feed, and grew up his arrows for a Sky Chi, is practically what it feels like. Okay, cool, take out all of them fools. Yeah, the secondary ability right here with the little drill that you enter into also stuns enemies, that can be very useful on top of the damage. You know, it's why it flows together so well with his jump and attack. But when it comes to the tech senseis, I must admit this guy is probably my favourite. You know, Dr. Crankcase is also really good. Chain Reaction's gameplay is garbage, but I do love his character, you know, specifically his design. So I think from a design standpoint, Chain Reaction is definitely the best tech sensei, but in terms of just raw fun, gameplay, and then you combine that, of course, with the design on top of that, because there is no denying how fantastic Ro-bow's design is as well. So all these factors in combination with one another basically make Ro-bow my favourite tech sensei. And I also love his jumping animations too, just for constant forward flips. But the design is a very clear-cut reference to a robotic version of Robin Hood. You know, it's a pun in of itself as well. Ro-bow. You know, rather than robot, he's a robo. it's a cool pun. But yeah, for greenery within his design, just, you know, little feather on his cloak, it's just very Robin Hood-esque, and for bow on top of that just makes it so abundantly clear that this guy is a reference to the legend of Robin Hood, which I quite like, because Nottingham is a local city of mine, and that therefore makes Robin Hood being a legend of Nottingham really personal to me, so it's cool, all the same. Okay, what's over here? I saw something glowing. Oh, it's a treasure chest. You know what? May as well. I know Ro-bow's already pretty excessive on gold, and unfortunately, all of this gold and Skylanders cannot translate to real-life money in order to make it more affordable to pick up this character. But still, a lot of gold, not going to say no to a treasure chest still. That way we have more fans to worry about here. Ro-bow's biggest fans. Hey, if Ro-bow can make a pun, I can make a pun. So I think it's about time to conclude this level. Without further ado, you know, Ro-bow pulled out some amazing clutches within combat even. Wildstorm and Chompy Mage from their levels had it easy, because those levels in terms of combat are far less high in quantity and difficulty than that of the other rounds. But luckily Ro-bow kind of rose up to the occasion and crushed all enemies in his wake. Yeah, Jetfat, can you shut up and just let me move on to the next part of the video already? You know, I suppose we can earn ourselves some new headgear. I suppose that's pretty cool. So now, this level's been completed. We missed the troll radio to nobody's care. Like, I believe 0 French cakes were given, even though I love myself a delicious cake, so... Darn it, now I've got to make myself hungry. So now, with that all being said and done, it's time to answer the question as to whether or not this video was intended as a flex. Yes. Yes, it was. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video regardless. Let me know if you're lucky enough to own these figurines as well in the comment section below. If you do, let me know your opinions on each of them. After all, you know mine already, so it's only fair. Better yet, for those of you who don't have these characters, you can use the comment section below as the perfect place to rant about how awful the distribution of these characters was, which led them to becoming as rare and as expensive as they are. Man, I wish I had the money to be able to create a giveaway for this here iconic trio. I really do wish that.
But unfortunately, I'd have to start a mortgage if I ever wanted to buy all 3 of them all over again. And worse yet, I'd have to sell a kidney if I wanted Imaginators on Switch. So after all that, I simply just cannot warrant a giveaway for these 3 characters. What I can warrant, however, is a giveaway for all of these characters instead. There are over 80 figurines here, and one lucky winner can choose as many they like amongst them to be shipped off to them. Shipping fees covered by yours truly, meaning me. So that basically means the winner won't have to spend a single dime, as I will cover all expenses out for goodness of my own heart. So naturally, all you need to do in order to enter into this here giveaway is comment down in the section below telling me that you are interested in entering into said giveaway. And you might even remember a channel post I made yesterday alluding to this very moment. Well, those of you who watched through the video in its entirety would already know that at random intervals within the video, I put giveaway codes at the bottom in the middle of the screen to reward those who watch through the video in its entirety rather than skip to the end just for the sake of the giveaway. You can use those codes to comment on that post from yesterday. Putting the correct code in the comment section grants you 1 extra entry. There are 5 total giveaway codes found throughout this video. Each code can only be used once, so the first commenter with a specific code is the only commenter that will get the extra entry for that code. In other words, the same code can't be used twice by 2 different commenters. Also, each commenter can only have 1 code for 1 extra entry each. So please don't go to that post and comment all 5 codes, then others can cheat and just copy the codes rather than watching through the video in its entirety. So, just to reiterate, each code can only be redeemed once by the first commenter who uses it in the comment section of that post, and each commenter can only use 1 code. They can't have every code to themselves, mind you. We're going to be ending off this video on the very same shot it started with, so naturally with the full circle having been drawn, I want to thank you all so much for watching this here Skylanders video, and I sure hope you enjoyed it. But regardless of all that, I will of course be seeing you in the next one, but until such moment arises, peace.